Today, I'm sharing 5 scams that we've all been brainwashed into thinking are normal or cute or fun or aspirational, to the point where we no longer recognize them as scams because all of them are hiding in plain sight. These everyday scams feel slimy at best and dangerous or borderline illegal at worst, and yet somehow have quietly become a normal part of our daily habits, routines, and society. They're in the shows you watch, the products you're sold, and the bills that drain your bank account every single month. And what's even crazier is how all of us just seem to have accepted this and don't even notice or care that it's happening. But the moment you stop shrugging and start paying attention, you'll start seeing this pattern. And once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. And let's start with one that really hits people where it hurts the most, which is the cost of healthcare. Did you know that the US healthcare system is the most expensive in the world? And yet, when you compare our healthcare to quality indicators from other developed nations, we're either low or dead last on the list. I mean, how dystopian is it that kids are being forced to sell lemonade to be able to afford things like brain surgery and treatments that could help them potentially walk, or even headstones for their dead mother's grave? I swear, every time I see a heartbreaking story in the news getting repackaged and sold to us as heartwarming, I want to put my face into a pillow and scream. I remember a few years back when my son was going into kindergarten and I had to get EpiPens for him to have at school and for home because he has a peanut allergy that is pretty bad, but not as dangerous as some other kids' peanut allergies. As long as my son doesn't eat peanuts, he's generally fine. So it's not like if he gets on a bus with someone who's eaten a peanut butter sandwich, he's going to go into anaphylactic shock. But while I was standing in line at the pharmacy to get our EpiPen, I met a woman who said that her children's allergies were that bad. They also had peanut allergies, and she had 6 kids who all needed EpiPens. And get this, at the time, the out-of-pocket cost for those EpiPens was $600 a piece. I already had sticker shock having to pay $600 for 2 EpiPens, so I can't imagine what it was like for her having to buy EpiPens for 6 children at $600 a pop. And the woman was actually tearing up as she talked about this to me while we were standing in line, because she knew that she was going to have to go into debt to be able to afford all of these EpiPens. We actually had to replace my son's EpiPens because they expired last year. And I was surprised when I went to the pharmacy to get the new EpiPens and find out that I had to pay $0 out of pocket costs to cover them. Hey there, editing Marissa here, and that sounded wrong as I was going through this, so I decided to check back through my budgeting notes and found that we actually paid just over $75 for my oldest son's EpiPen replacement, which isn't zero, obviously, but sure is a whole heck of a lot better than $600 out of pocket. But I just wanted to quickly correct myself here. So I don't know if things have changed or if our insurance got better or what, but all I can say is that I'm really, really glad for that. But speaking of that woman and her 6 kids, that actually reminds me of another story I saw in the news recently about how the actor James Vanderbeek from Dawson's Creek recently passed away, and his friends and family started a GoFundMe page to support his widow and their 6 children after his untimely passing at age 48 from colorectal cancer. And since the news of his passing went viral, there's been an outpouring of love and support for their family, and you've even seen famous actors and directors like Steven Spielberg donating tens of thousands of dollars to support his family. But then on the other hand, people are pointing out the dark side to this story, which is that if healthcare is so unaffordable that a famous actor's family needs financial help, then what chance do normal people have in being able to pay for medical care without going into debt or having to declare bankruptcy? How in the world have we gotten to the point where it seems normal and acceptable that people should have to crowdfund to be able to afford treatment and medical care, or that they might need to choose between being able to pay the bills and buy groceries, or be able to afford life-saving medications and prescriptions? Staying healthy and alive shouldn't be treated like a luxury purchase, and the fact that it is nowadays just goes to show you how broken our healthcare system actually is. And speaking of luxury purchases, that's actually the next scam on this list, and how luxury brands gaslight people into thinking that buying a logo is what's going to get them to feel noticed and admired. But before we dive into that, I want to quickly point out another scam that's quietly happening in the background. Because while we're chasing luxury brands and obsessing over being seen, there are entire industries making money by selling off our personal data, putting our privacy and security at risk, which is exactly why I'm happy to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, Delete Me. This always blows my mind because it feels like the data broker industry should be illegal, and yet somehow not only is it legal, it's also extremely lucrative for companies to collect your name, address, phone number, the names of your relatives, and their information, and package all of that into a profile to resell to anyone who wants it and can pay for it. And this is such a quiet scam that a lot of people don't even realize that it's happening. I mean, I didn't realize this for a long time myself. And then even if you do realize it, trying to get your private information off the internet can feel like a full-time job. You have to track down site after site, fill out forms, verify your identity, and keep checking back when your data reappears. And if your life is anything like mine, you don't have a lot of free time like that, which is exactly why I use Delete Me. Delete Me is a hands-off subscription service that removes your personal information from hundreds of data brokers and people search sites, but they don't just stop there. They continue monitoring your data and removing it month after month, year after year. Removing your data helps reduce the risk of identity theft, scams, phishing attempts, and harassment. So if you're like me and you want to take back control of your privacy and security, right now you can get 20% off Delete Me consumer plans at joindeleteme.com/A to Zen and use the code A to Zen at checkout. Again, that's joindeleteme.com/A to Zen, or use the code A to Zen or scan the QR code on the screen right now to save 20%. And thanks again to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to that luxury brand scam, shall we? Luxury brands are often marketed to us as quality or investments, but in reality, most people don't buy luxury purchases like Rolex watches, Birkin bags, or Louboutin shoes because of the appreciation potential. They buy it because it's a status symbol that screams, "Look at me." But unfortunately, nowadays, a luxury price tag is no guarantee of quality or craftsmanship anymore. There was even a big scandal that blew up last year where whistleblowers were exposing a bunch of so-called luxury brands, including ones that market themselves as European craftsmanship, that were being quietly outsourced to factories in China. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that manufacturing in China is inherently bad, but what I dislike here is the deception behind the illusion and the marketing. They give you the story, the romance, and the carefully curated fantasy that you're buying into heritage and artistry, when in reality, what you're actually paying for is the name, the logo, and a new yacht for the CEO.
Let me tell you something.
I don't know about you, but I'd rather have $5,000 in a $10 purse that I found at the thrift store versus having $10 in a $5,000 purse. The bottom line is logos don't pay bills, they don't put food on the table, and they don't build wealth, but practicality does. I'm personally not interested in acting wealthy, I'm interested in being wealthy, and if you are as well, I would encourage you to say no to this luxury purchase scam from now on. The next normalized scam on this list is trends and micro-trend hopping. Trends change so fast nowadays that it almost gives me whiplash. Last year, it was things like Dubai chocolate, the Labubu doll trend, the Weck jar trend, the Trader Joe tote bags, and the Starbucks barista cup, not to mention a whole bunch of specialty Ninja kitchen appliances, just to name a few. But here we are just a few months into 2026, and all those popular trends from last year are now getting donated to thrift stores and sold on Facebook Marketplace.
I love high-end kitchen tools, but some things are not worth spending money on. Like, don't spend $150 on an ice cream maker. This is a perfect example of something that people buy for their kid and then use once and then sell to you on Facebook Marketplace for $50. So save your money.
But have people learned their lesson from all of those regret purchases? No, of course not. I recently saw multiple videos of people replacing their Ninja espresso machines with the exact same thing, except the new one is from a viral product launch that's currently trending in 2026, which is emerald and gold, apparently. It's the same machine, the same function, just in new colors, and all I can say is wow. That's not self-expression, that's overconsumption and engineered dissatisfaction. The faster trends move, the faster your money disappears if you keep chasing them. And if you want to break free from that hamster wheel, the only way to win is to stop running the race. Scam number 4 is the bait and switch subscription model that all these brands and companies seem to be moving towards nowadays. It used to be that the customer was king and brands used to care about making good products. But nowadays, brands and companies have a new endgame, one in which customer satisfaction with the product is irrelevant. And their real goal is to get you locked into expensive subscriptions that keeps you paying for the privilege of using their product month after month and year after year. Luckily, customer pushback sometimes does work, like when BMW landed in hot water for floating the idea of charging $18 a month for heated seats in cars that their customers had already purchased. Again, heated seats for the car you paid for, the hardware you paid for, but now you have to rent warmth. Anyway, people were furious and BMW eventually did back off. But not everyone backs off, and some brands just quietly push forward with these changes. Like the $2,000 Samsung refrigerator that serves you ads they've helpfully curated right there on its smart screen. You already paid thousands of dollars for this refrigerator and it's still advertising to you? Give me a break. That's not innovation, that's ownership in reverse. And it's no wonder I've seen a growing buzz online nowadays where people are having conversations if buying something no longer means ownership, then piracy shouldn't be called stealing. Now, I'm not endorsing that, but I do think that it should make brands nervous because if customers start questioning the definition of ownership, I think that's a red flag that you've pushed things too far. So I've personally made the decision not to give my hard-earned money to brands and corporations that have turned one-time purchases into subscription-based models like this, and I encourage you to do the same. And finally, the last normalized scam on this list is the AI slopification of everything. From AI influencers to AI products, people are getting scammed all over the place and now even losing their jobs to AI. Just the other day, my husband sent me this crazy article about an AI-generated monk named Yang Mun, who presents himself as a Chinese monk sharing ancient wisdom about healing, mindfulness, and inner peace, except he's not real. Yang Mun is a fictional character created by digital creator Shalev Hani, who sells ebooks on wellness and ancient wisdom for anywhere from $10 to $50. And apparently, between all of the ebooks and wellness courses that this creator is selling that promise healing, inner peace, and 30-day transformations, reportedly have generated over $300,000 of profit within 90 days. And a lot of people not only support this, but also even want to copy that success themselves because they say that it's not malicious, it's not evil, and it's not even necessarily inaccurate. But the problem is that all of this is built upon scraped ideas, repackaged philosophies, pseudo-spirituality, and algorithmically optimized emotions that are being delivered by a fictional authority figure. And there's no authenticity or real lived experience behind this. It's all just branding, marketing, and stolen content. And unfortunately, given how successful and public this entire debacle has been, this AI problem only seems to be getting worse. Just the other day, I came across a bunch of similar AI YouTube channels that featured elderly men and women giving emotional and motivational life advice. And at first, even I fell for it because the production quality was incredible. The stories felt real and relatable, and some of them had millions upon millions of views. But the longer I watched, the more off things started to feel. Like uncanny valley sort of off. And then when I scrolled down to check my suspicions in the description, I found a disclaimer that read, "This content is fictionalized and that the person in the video and all of the stories were AI generated." And reading the comments on that video absolutely broke my heart because you could tell that all of these people were falling for this video and the story hook, line, and sinker, and they were pouring their hearts out in comments to this AI generated character that doesn't even exist and that has been made for the sole purpose of cashing in on their ignorance and naivete. When you blur the line between the real and the synthetic long enough, people stop knowing what they're actually connecting to and being able to recognize reality. I don't know about you, but when I'm learning something, I want to know that I'm learning from a real person and an actual expert in that subject and not just some AI generated personality or authority figure. And this goes for other areas in life as well. I want to know that the reviews that I read for products are real and not some AI generated reviews. And who wants to go to the bookstore and buy a book that's AI slop and not written by a real person? When everything feels real but nothing actually is, trust starts to erode and life starts to feel like the Matrix. I'd love to hear which of these scams make you the most angry and which scams you have noticed that I didn't talk about in this video. And let me know down in the comment section below if you'd like to see me make another video on this topic. And in the meantime, you can go and check out one of these videos that YouTube thinks that you'll like. And don't forget to check out Delete Me down in the description box and pinned comment below. And I'll see you next time. Until next week, take care. Bye-bye.